Hi, I'm Ted Rogers. I'm the Associate Pastor of Lakeside Presbyterian Church, also the Executive Director of the Lakeside Institute of Theology. So, welcome to our Reminders of God series. Now, I found out a couple years ago that evidently, my dad has a house on Long Island, and evidently one of my dad's neighbors was Kurt Vonnegut. Now, Kurt Vonnegut is by far one of my very favorite authors. And, you know, it really did kind of hurt to realize that my dad never bothered to introduce me to Mr. Vonnegut, nor bothered to procure for me a copy of his, selected works, autographed. I'll get over that. But it ends up that Kurt Vonnegut was supposed to be a heck of a great guy, really an awesome human being. Now, he and Joseph Heller was the author of the book Catch-22, arguably one of the best-selling books in American history. He and Joseph Heller were invited to the house of a hedge fund manager on Shelter Island for a party. And so they're enjoying the party and speaking amongst themselves. And Vonnegut turns to Heller and says, "You know, Joseph, this guy literally makes more in one day than the sales of your book have made in the past 40 years. And Heller turned to him and said, "I love this statement. Yes, but I have something he will never have." Vonnegut looked startled and said, "What's that?" And Heller turned to him and said, "Enough. I have enough." Wow, enough. What an elegant concept. Yet our society pushes us to strive for more and more and more. But what is in this undiscovered world called enough? Enough. Now, to answer that question, I'm going to Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 through 13. "Not only do I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Now, what I love here is that Paul gives no guilt trip at all. He knows realistically what it is to be in great need, but he also knows what it is to be an upper-class lawyer. He also understood what it was to live in abundance. And so he masterfully flips the issue back to Christ, who meets the poor where they are with hope, and then also meets those who live in abundance with the understanding that they need his grace, the grace of God. He is then laying out the map to the undiscovered country of enough, to keep one's focus on Christ and to understand that all true strength comes from him. Indeed, those periods of being in greatest need, if we face them properly, draw us so much closer to God. As Brennan Manning wrote, and I quote, "The dominant characteristic of an authentic spiritual life is the gratitude that flows from trust, not only for all the gifts that I receive from God, but gratitude for all the suffering. Because in that purifying experience, suffering has often been the shortest path to intimacy with God." And in the ever-present societal pressure for us to push for more, it is so easy to forget that oftentimes We need to choose to live more simply so that others, frankly, can simply live. If we, like Christ, decide to be our brother's keeper, and that is my choice, when we remember that 700 million people in the world are starving today, and that in the United States, 20% of all children go to bed food insecure. That is, they don't know if or where it will come from their next meal, if they're going to have another meal. Then maybe, just maybe, we can see putting off buying that new car for another year as an act of worship if we choose to give. Then maybe, just maybe, our choosing not to shop as a form of entertainment can be an act of adoration to our God if, again, we choose to give. We are to love people and use things, because when that is put in the opposite direction, loving things and using people, nothing ever good comes of it. To see our acted out love for our fellow man as our checking account. To see our actions inspired by Christ as interest earned for humanity. Oh, then, let me ask you this. How then would we build our portfolio? How then would we choose to invest? That's the question. How then do you choose to invest? Grace, peace, and love to you all. To God be the glory. Amen.